Good evening and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Olivia Korman and I'm joined with Tim Rogers and Zach Gershman. We're here to answer your questions about the future of Penn State football and what it looks like. There's been some talk about Coach James Franklin either going to USC or LSU. What do you guys think about him and his future with the Nittany Lions?
I think it's time to move on. As a human being, as a recruiter, James Franklin's great. We all know that. But as a coach, I think it's got to change. He is 2-10 against top 5 teams here at Penn State, and that's unacceptable. You know, if you want to go to that next level, be to that Big Ten championship, which you haven't been since 2016, something has to change. And there's the argument that he never really had the talent until this upcoming class coming in. I disagree with that. He's had Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders, KJ Hamler. The list goes on and on. Trace McSorley, Mike Gesicki. All these guys, you should be able to go, at least be in the conversation for a Big Ten championship, and you haven't since 2016. So, and we, as Penn State fans, you can't keep blaming your offensive coordinator, switching from an offensive coordinator every year or a new defensive coordinator every year. It starts at the top, and I could see him going to USC. That's where I do think he will go. And if you're Penn State, I think it's time to make a change.
I disagree. I feel like you need to keep James Franklin in this position. With the recruiting class, you mentioned it. Great players coach, great recruiter. Now that #1 recruiting class is coming to Happy Valley. If you're a Penn State fan, this is one of the most excited you have been about a recruiting class coming in. With a guy like Drew Aller coming in, the #1 quarterback in the class of 2022. It's a very exciting time for the Penn State Nittany Lion football program. Now, at the same time, James Franklin, there's been plenty of questionable play call decisions. We could talk about the X's and O's for days. There's no doubt about it. At the same time, though, you have to let him develop this recruiting class coming in because they do have the talent. Yes, they've had individuals here and there through recruiting classes. You mentioned them. Now you have an entire recruiting class coming in together. And also this recruiting class, they have been the best recruiters for James Franklin. You see them all over social media. They're commenting saying, why would you not want to come to Penn State? When you have recruits that are bought into the program before they even arrive to Happy Valley, you can't let that go. And if James Franklin were to leave Penn State's left a big hole because who do you have to replace him? Joe Moorhead staying in Oregon. Luke Fickell staying in Cincinnati. There's no purpose for him to leave. You have nobody that's going to replace him. What are you going to put Brent Pry up there from defensive coordinator to head coach? Not a bad idea, but with the loyalty that Brent Pry has to James Franklin, I don't see that happening either. James Franklin needs to stay here in Happy Valley.
I'm going to have to agree with Tim on this one. I see what happens with James Franklin next year. Sean Clifford was given another year to play football at the college level. Will he pull a Case Keenum and come back for a 6th year?
I think, I think if he does, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But we've seen how he is in competition. We saw how he was when you put Will Levis against him last year. He cracked. And I get it. It was a COVID year and everybody was not on their game. You were losing parts of your team. You were losing pieces and that kind of stuff. But it's not going to work. We've seen how he is under pressure. I do think if he were to come back, it'd be great for Drew Aller to learn under him. He's the #1 quarterback, as we talked about. He's a top 5 passer in the nation. And there's been very few times when Penn State has had a quarterback coming in like this where the hype's been around him as much as Penn State fans have been around Drew Aller. So I don't think he should come back because we've seen how it works. But if he were to come back, I don't think it'd necessarily be a bad thing.
I would love to see Clifford come back. You can tell the dude loves Penn State. I mean, the whiteout game, the atmosphere. And you saw it for these past 4 games. He was hurt. And after every hit, he kept getting back up because he loves Penn State and he wants to be here. He said in the beginning of the year, self-proclaimed, that he's the most confident quarterback in college football. And I truly believe that because the way he played before he got hurt, he enjoyed it, man. He really just enjoyed it. And I think, as you said, it would be very good for Drew Aller to have that guy in front of him to learn from. Taking a step from high school to college or even college to the NFL, any step that you take, it's going to take some time for you to really learn what the next level is like. And I think if you have a guy like Sean Clifford there who has had over 7,000 passing yards, 58 touchdowns in his career, that is something that is going to help Drew just learn the system and learn Penn State more and just the college level in general. I think, a stat that I read today that he was sacked 73 times. I mean, that's something, too, that Drew is going to have to expect. Like, it's going to be a whole different pressure and a whole different ball game coming to college. And a guy like Sean Clifford is going to be able to give him notes and tips on how to adapt and how to be very successful.
And I will jump in. I'll jump in for a quick second there. The thing is, though, with Sean, when he has been successful, when his stats have really worked, it's because he's had a key weapon. We saw it with Journey Brown in 2019 when they won the Cotton Bowl. We see it now with Jahan Dotson. When he didn't have a star weapon that was really standing out, he had a year like he did during COVID. And that's what we've really been able to see. So there's no doubt about his toughness. We've seen it throughout the amount of hits he's taken. If there is a coach that I think is going to be leaving the coaching staff, it's going to be Coach Troutwine. But when it comes to Sean Clifford, we've seen what we've had to see from him already.
We definitely have, and who knows, maybe he'll come back. We'll have to wait and see. Saturday's game against Rutgers will mark the last time the seniors will take the field at Beaver Stadium as it's senior day. When you look at these graduating seniors, what do you think their lasting legacy will be of them?
I mean, it's a very recurring theme with Penn State and all their seniors. It's the guys that just couldn't get it done. The talent is there. There's no question. We have already mentioned Clifford. Jahan Dotson, who is one of the best receiving prospects Penn State has ever had. You have Jordan Stout, who has a great leg. You have Jaquan Brisker, who is just a serious talent. And the list keeps going on and on and on. But again, it's that same concept of the talent's there, but the overall results aren't. Right now, Penn State's 6-4. I mean, that's not something that this senior class was hoping for at all. And it's one of those things where, personally, it ties back to one man and one man only, and that's James Franklin. It's, this is multiple years now of very good senior classes that haven't been able to get it done. And I'm very happy and thankful that these guys were here for Penn State because that is going to be a huge culture thing for the new guys to come in and to learn, that these guys are the real deal. But it's one of those things where it's just they couldn't get it done.
But we also don't know who's going to be coming back again for another year. We know that this senior season wasn't exactly what these guys wanted. But a lot of these players were still on the Cotton Bowl team in 2019. They were winners. They've tasted winning. It just did not happen this season. At the end of the day, though, these guys that are on the board, that's not even all of them. That's just a couple of them. They have made a lasting impact. They've been teachers for the guys beneath them, and that's going to continue to trickle down. So the legacy might be that they were not the team that was able to win it all, and they were ranked number 4 and then became unranked in the span of a month. That might be what their lasting legacy is. But overall, after this season, we're going to see what their legacy really meant to this Penn State program.
Great points you both made. We'll see what happens. We will have to wait and see what James Franklin and Clifford decide to do. For Tim Rogers and Zach Gershman, I'm Olivia Korman. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.